Paul Blart, Mall Blart 2 is a misfire of sorts. The first Paul Blart movie was very much entertaining. It was Die Hard meets a mall cop, meets the big ol' Happy Gilmore, Happy Madison, whatever shtick, if you will. But when they made this sequel, I don't know who was in the writing room. You know, the big room, this big fictional room that a bunch of people enter when they start making ideas and talking about how a film is to be made and what they're going to put into the film. I don't know how they came up with this idea, but if we're being completely honest with ourselves, Paul Blart is very easy to make movies about. All you need to do is make it completely crazy. Paul Blart could have been the next Jim Varney. Paul Blart goes to the zoo. Paul Blart goes to Vegas. Paul Blart's daughter gets married. Paul Blart, European Blart. Paul Blart, Haunted Madness. Paul Blart, Family Troubles. Paul Blart's a grandpa. You know, all you had to do was just stick to that formula of Paul Blart being blarty. He's not blarty enough in this film. You're trying to make a family drama with some crazy stuff in the second half. Now, the crazy stuff in the second half is very entertaining. In fact, let me explain some of the crazy things that happened in this movie that actually made me chuckle. There's a scene where Paul Blart is in his hotel room. His daughter has been kidnapped by some bad guys, and Paul Blart's in all action cop mode. And then he sees the door to the bathroom in his hotel room open. He's hiding to the other side of the door, and when somebody enters, he just and it ends up being some 80-year-old cleaning lady, and she goes, "Ah!" She's groaning on the floor, and Paul Blart looks absolutely horrified and says, I'm so sorry. And the granny is like, oh, don't worry, dear. Happens all the time. I startled you. It's okay. It's my fault, really. And Paul Blart is still horrified. He says, do you need any help? And she says, oh, don't worry, dear. The pain distracts me from my arthritis. And that made me chuckle. You know, that made me chuckle. That was entertaining. You know, it was entertaining. That's what I wanted to come to Paul Blart to see. Stuff like that. Another very entertaining scene is Paul Blart's running through all the gift shops trying to figure out how to gear himself up to fight the bad guys that are trying to rob some paintings of this hotel resort in Vegas that he happens to be attending a mall cop convention there. And one of the things he sees is some luggage. It's behind some store walls. It's luggage, and the advertising marketing little slogan next to it says, now with bulletproof casing. And it's like, bulletproof. You get a bulletproof luggage. If anybody's going to open fire at you, you want this luggage so that it keeps your stuff inside the luggage safe from bullety harm. And so Paul Blart gets the idea of getting one of these luggages and putting himself inside of it. Because when you're inside the luggage, the bullets can't harm you. The luggage is placed at the top of the stairs, and then one of the bad guys comes chasing after him. He's got his gun, he's shooting at the luggage, and it is bulletproof, so his bullets are not penetrating the luggage. But Paul Blart is trapped inside the luggage. He cannot get out. And then he's wiggling the luggage, he's trying to shake the luggage, and then the luggage tumbles down the stairs and is chasing after the bad guy. And this is absolutely insane. I am enjoying every second of it. The luggage smacks the man in the face, the bad guy in the face. And then the luggage goes flying. It goes flying through the window and tumbles down, 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 crashing into the swimming pool below. Paul Blart is still trapped inside the luggage. He can't get out. And this is very entertaining. This is very entertaining to me. What would have made this even more entertaining would be if the luggage that smacked the bad guy in the face, if that bad guy was completely knocked out, spread eagled on the floor. He's got the walkie-talkie in his hands, and the lead bad guy is yelling at him, "Answer me, come in, blah, 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 blah." But there's no answer because the man is completely decked out because he got hit in the face by some luggage that Paul Blart was trapped inside. That is absolutely hilarious. That is fantastic. It's the type of thing I wanted to see in a Paul Blart sequel. But we don't get enough sequences like this. We get some crazy random sequences. There's a bird that completely chases after Paul Blart. It's a very aggressive and angry bird. We don't know why it's there. And there's this man playing piano. Very soothingly, he's just soothingly playing the piano while the bird is mauling Paul Blart. And the man playing the piano is all like nodding his head. Paul Blart's yelling, help me, he's pecking my eyes out, and the man playing the piano is just serenading through the violent scene. It is fantastic. I very much enjoyed the stupidity of that scene. It is the type of thing that I wanted the whole movie to be like. When you're going to make a sequel, we have Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2, Paul Blart Goes to Vegas. That's what it should have been called. Just Paul Blart in Vegas doing some Paul Blart Vegas shenanigans. And you didn't really need to give us a heartfelt story. Paul Blart is not the type of heartfelt Blart to get heartfelt over his blartiness. We don't get heartfelt over that. At least I didn't. The first film was very good for a heartfelt Blart story. And honestly, I didn't think a sequel was ever needed to be made. You didn't need to make any sequels to this series at all, outside of through the specific formula that I mentioned to you. It's like when you take Home Alone to New York, you have to have Harry and Marv get through all sorts of comical shenanigans, and it's absolutely funny when they get hit in the face with an iron, and Harry's head is burned off by a blowtorch, a BB gun gets shot into Marv's face, and all that stuff. It's hilarious. It is absolutely crazy hilarious. It's the type of shenanigans that never gets old. 30 years later, 40 years later, 100 years later, people are going to remember Home Alone and say, that's very funny. It's hilarious. Their misfortune entertains us. And that's the type of comedy that they have some of it in this movie with Paul Blart versus the bird, Paul Blart versus the bulletproof luggage, and Paul Blart versus the housekeeper lady. These are all very fantastic fights. They're very, very funny, and we needed more of those. We needed more of Paul Blart fighting these things. We need him to protect us from elderly housekeepers. We need him to protect us from luggage that's bulletproof. We need him to protect us against violent birds. In fact, we should have more violent birds attacking him. There's a story in this movie, but you're not going to remember much of it. But you may remember these three moments that I'm bringing up: the housekeeper fight, the luggage, and the bird. You'll probably remember those three. The rest is very forgettable. But if you had more shenanigan sequences like the three things that I mentioned, if it was the whole movie about that, then the movie might be memorable. You'd remember the whole thing. Because that's the successful thing about a film, is if you remember something from it, it succeeds in having something that you remember. But either way, that's what I thought about Paul Blart, Mull Blart 2.